we described various forms of Bhakti Yoga and the idol worship. But an important point in the yoga also has been indicated that one cannot attain liberation until all desires, including spiritual desires itself, have been burned. And it's a constant practice and constant effort, and there should be a consistency. So Bhagavan said, yeah, these are the highlights of it. A true spiritual guru treats his devotees in the same way, relating to each individually at the same time, but withdrawing temporarily when pride and egoism infect the disciple. Once that is there, the support is automatically withdrawn. Then comes forms and devotion, forms of devotion. In our system, in our country, there are many ancient rishis and tapasvis. For the benefit of the Bhakti Yogis, they have designed various forms of devotion, how to devote. You will definitely know all this because it's very common. One is the Shravanam, listening to the stories of God. Book knowledge is not sufficient. The stories must be imparted by inspired teachers and wise men. So just reading the books of stories, imagining things according to one's own perception is not sufficient, is what he is mentioning here. Because each individual will take to his own likes and dislikes when he is freely allowed to go through the meanings and implications of the particular subject. When it is directed by a person, Guru, he directs that person only at a particular direction so that he can follow that direction instead of going by one's own emotions and one's own background. Is why he has specifically mentioned this Shravanam. That's why it is known as Shravanam. It is not Patanam. It's not Patanam, it is Shravanam. Shravana is that we have discussed about Shravana in Vedic science much earlier. Second is Kirtanam, singing of God's glories, again bringing one into the transformation when one is singing the God's glories. One's mind becomes more acceptable towards that and goes from the conscious levels to subconscious level, where the discrimination of the body, the self, the body and mind has been diluted. One with the God and teaching. That's the true Kirtanam. That's why it is known as Kirtanam. Kirtanam is that Kirti. Kirti is that fame. Kirti, Kirtanam. Kirti of Lord. What is the Kirti? The greatness of the Vishnu. the greatness of others. Who can do the varnana or the explanation of someone else's glorification, someone else's greatness? Only a person who is having an absolute less egoism. The one who is highly egoist cannot praise others. It's not possible. If he praises, it will be sarcasm, or he will be praising for the purpose of some benefit out of it. But if a true person who really praises others is that one who has got absolute low egoism, there is no egoism at all. It's why it is known as Kirtanam, not just as we are singing. No, it's not that. That's what I am trying to make you understand. Not just listening or just reading something and I understand like this. This is what is written in such and such book. So and so has written this. So and so has written what? None of you know. You know only what you thought, what you know by word meaning. That's what I said. What he thought. It's very difficult. In the thinking that what is it, please come, if you read, if many people read in many emotions and many status, can find out different meaning. You can write that. When he say that, he wrote it with anger, he wrote it with passion, he wrote it with humility, he wrote it, all this will be applicable to that analysis. But word is please come, that's all. So, the implication of reading has got great complications there. That is how many people who have written books from the West and others have got a lot of contradictions with the true Vedic science, is what the great men have told. I am not an authority on that, but the great people have said that. So we should always follow the right listening. That's what it means. The right listening means he is told that from the inspired teachers and wise men. Not who is attached and attracted to many other. Kirtanam, singing of the glories. Singing of glories. As I told you that the singing can be done, or the true singing. There are so many singings. There are musicians. They sing based on the ragas. Their passion towards the singing is there. So they sing. There are so many are there. The passion towards, they sing well, no doubt. But the passion towards the singing is there. Music is there. It's not the song or the glorification that matters to them. It is the raga that matters to them, tala that matters to them. See. The listener also like that. It's the same thing. See. The one who is wanting to listen to that kirtanam in the musical raga or things like that, it's different. But glorification as it is has got different meaning. So it can be sung as in an adaptable and beautiful way. Because song has got definitely, the song is such a form that it can attract anyone and everybody. Because the ragas are designed in such a manner that it creates beautiful vibrational frequencies, so it attracts anyone and everyone. Most of the people are attracted to such singing. That's why the singing has been done, and also one feels of that. See, like we have heard a lot of stories about singing, like Meera Bhai and all that. We heard about that, how she turned into that, singing of Bhagwan's glories for her bhakti. She did not sing for the purpose of others to listen or to fulfill the completeness of the ragas, but for the purpose of glorification. So the ego becomes absolutely low when I glorify somebody. A knowledgeable man, I say that he's a great person, he's a great, nice man, he is a very knowledgeable person. If I really appreciate him, glorify him from my mind, my ego is at absolute zero. This is called the Kirtanam Kirti. Others Kirti. Kirti is done by, not by him, but others. Kirti is always done by others. So who can do the Kirti? Kirti can be done only by the true disciples, the true followers, the true egoless people only can do the Kirti. Otherwise the other Kirti is fake advertisement. It can be kirti, you can see billboards, please. They have kirtanam, and then smaranam, 3 is smaranam. Smaranam is remembrance of Lord's name and presence in mental attitude and unceasing prayer. Unceasing prayer is that which never stops. Many are conscious, they think that what is happening is at the background, but it is the conscious mind. Sometimes what happens is that most of the smaranam happens with the conscious mind. Whenever we think of the God, only we are thinking of God. When we are not thinking of God, are we thinking of God? Where are you? In which status are you? There are various methods of measuring that how one thinks. That is, one of that is that Kirlian photography. Finding out through the auras. Other is like there are electronic instruments today to find out in which level you are functioning. Your mind is functioning at beta, theta, or alpha, in which range of cycles per second, 0.35 cycles to 22 cycles, or below that. And you can find out through instruments. EEG can find out your through the EEG. You can find out that what is the pattern of thinking that you are taking place. You see. So these things are there. So one can always find out, but then one should not get into the wrong concept of smaranam, remembrance. So always being in that status is remembrance. It's not only remembering whenever only smaranam is not only remembering only when we want. So, I always said that. Make it a practice of keeping that what we do in His presence. Next is the fourth one is that Pada Sevanam, service at the Lord's feet. The world is seen as God's feet, and serving humanity one mentally is offering worship to His feet. Pada Sevanam is the another way, fourth way of the forms of bhakti, forms of devotion. So, Pada Sevanam. In Pada Sevanam, what happens? There is also a Seva Bhava comes. Seva Bhava is the Bhava of the servant. There is another Bhava of servant comes at a later date. Dasya Bhava, I have explained about Dasya Bhavam, Sakha Bhavam and things like that are there. In Pada Sevanam also, it is the Seva Bhava comes in us. That's why we can do Pada. Who can do really Pada Seva? One feels reluctant to touch another's feet. It's difficult. It's very difficult. Because their ego will not allow them to do that in certain conditions. Many times it is not possible. But the one who doesn't have that, one who feels that I am the Lord's servant, without any inhibitions on me, the service oriented. Servant in the sense is not in the state of servant as we are describing about servant, is the Dasya. Dasya Bhava is that like Hanuman's, Dasya Bhava. Dasya is another Bhava of Bhakti, not to be equivalent to the Lord, but at the feet of the Lord. That means Sharanarthi, at all times of the Sharanarthi of the Lord. That's why the Pada Sevanam can be done. When Sharanam, that means dependency. I surrender at your feet, is what they say. I surrender at your head, nobody says. I surrender at your feet, only they say. The surrender happens only at the feet. That's called Pada Seva. So Pada Seva is very great Seva. That means it's only a that service really can be done by very few actually. Even though one may do many things, but honestly from within, from inside, that bhakti bhava should flow on that when you do the Pada Seva. Then only it can be called as Pada Sevanam. So otherwise what happens? We have reluctance. This always happens. Many people are shy of doing it. I have noticed many people. Even to stand in presence of God in the temple or somewhere on the way, all that. We see many temples. Under the tree, under this, so many are there. We daily we experience. If you really want to pray, how many of them are there? Have you noticed? How many of them are there really want to pray? Some out of fear, some out of obligation, some out of necessity, some out of wanting to do that because they have to fulfill their requirements. So for that they do prayers. But truly praying is that without looking into environment, just stand there and fold your hands and close your eyes and then pray. Just pray without any inhibitions on them. Some people are shy. I have seen people doing it. They will look. If there is a crowd, they will do like this. They are even reluctant to fold their hands. They will do like this. There are some who will not bow down or touch or something like that because the others are seeing. So, how to? Should I do it or not? When there is no one, probably you would do it. But if there are people, shy. Actually, Bhakti, what I told you, remember that earlier days? Nirlajja, nirvikara, nirlajjato has to be there. That's what Ramakrishna Bhagavan says. Nirlajja bhavena bhakti. Vidura Patni has done Krishna's bhakti. Nirlajja bhavena. Lajja is not, there's no place for lajja. Lajja comes only when you are conscious of your thought, your physical body, your mind, your activity, then only the lajja comes. I am so this one and how can I do this? Lajja comes only because you are too conscious about the physical body and physical mind is why that lajja comes. That should not come. Then it is not Pada Seva. Why I am explaining that I can just read out. You will never understand one meaning of this. I'm sure about it. Because you have heard all these words. These words all, you must all be knowing that. But none of you know the explanations of this. Is why I'm just trying to explain so that don't think they are simple words that has been put by the great people just for the sake of making people do it, slog or make people do things like that. No. So the fourth one is that Pada Sevanam. If you really want to do Pada Sevanam, do Pada Sevanam with absolute humility, absolute Samarpana Bhava. Then only it becomes Pada Seva. Otherwise it will be touching the feet. That's all. There are two things. One, you can touch the feet. Another, you can do Seva of the Pada. Which one you want, you can choose. That's it. Pada Sevanam. Fifth is the Archanam. Worship of the God through rituals as puja. Well, puja, we all know puja, we are all very familiar with it. Now, Swamiji here explains with added one more sentence to it. Swamiji said, one offers himself to the Lord, thus breaking the ego is called puja. This we have explained earlier. I always say that, Hridam samarpyami, dudam samarpyami, dubam samarpyami, annam samarpyami, aham samarpyami, mama sarvasvam samarpyami. There is nothing. Mama is also not there. That also is being done. Archanam is that worship of God. Worshipping in the sense, one is praying, another is worshipping, another is doing puja. Worshipping in the sense one offers, thus breaking the total ego and then samarpana bhava. So, then only that's why the word there samarpayami has come. The true meaning of samarpayami is what? Aham samarpayami. Kim samarpayami? Kata samarpayami? Kuta samarpayami? These have to be questioned also. Then you will get the answer. Okay, now comes that's called the Archanam. Then comes Vandanam. Prostrations to the Lord with full awareness of His presence in all names and forms. This developed humility. Prostration, we have told that Sashtanga Pranama, I have spoken on this long ago. Ashtanga Pranama, Sashtanga Pranama. With 8 angas touching that. That means you are completely surrendering yourself at the mercy of someone, because your face is down, forehead is touching. So in Ashtanga, these are the Ashtanga, so including the forehead and the hands, both hands in the front, and then, or like this, whatever it is in the front. Normally this is Sashtanga. Ashtanga Pranama is that in that, without any inhibitions, without any offense, without any liking, without any dislike, without any request, without any response, without anything, I am surrendering. It's called Samarpana Bhava. When you are lying down like this, is there any request? So, Samarpana Bhavam is that's called the, what is that I said? Vandanam. Prostrations in front of the Lord. Prostrations are very necessary, so that this makes one aware inside that I am so helpless. You see, when you are lying down like that, your hands are tied, legs are tied, your body, without looking at the stomach, on the stomach you are lying. So in that position, what can you do? Nothing. Just, that means in totality, with total belief, with total faith that you will protect me, I am doing that. This is why Sashtanga Pranamam is done, so that faith is developed. There also, definitely in each and every activity, the egolessness have to be there. Otherwise, it is not Sashtanga Pranamam. It will be an exercise. That's all. Surya Namaskara is also done like that. So that will be an exercise. That's all. You see that you will get the benefit, no doubt. To that physical body exercise, that you will get it. But if you want to do the Vandanam, the prostration in full awareness, that means you are seeing that everything, everywhere, even the touching on the feet, on the ground, everywhere the Lord, this develops humility, he says. It's called Vandanam. 7 is Dasyam. This I also told you, Dasya Bhavam. Dasya Bhavam and Pada Sevanam, very close relationship is there. Cultivation of the feeling, being the servant of the Lord, to be service to the Lord, not servant of the Lord. Okay? Even if that pricks one's mind, let us change that subject, change the word as service to the Lord. Whatever service to, because Lord doesn't require any servants. Neither service, but you, depending upon your requirement, you are doing the service. Bhagavan doesn't require servant, neither servant nor service. You remember that I told a story when Hanuman and the whole Ram Parivar, Ram Lakshman, when he came back, Sita, when they came back from the forest, Rajyabhisheka was done. Somewhere, for an example, whether it has been written somewhere, that each one has got their own robes, kacha they call it. In Bhagavan's kacha, what happened? Lakshman said, Hanuman was already present there. So Lakshman told that, look, Hanuman, you had been doing this service for so long. You give me the opportunity, because I want to. I was always busy in taking care of that, because he was on the guard. So he cannot do the service to the Bhagavan. Even though I was with Bhagavan for all the 14 years with him. But what happened was, the service was not done by me, because I was busy in guarding only. And you were doing all the service. After he met Hanuman, Hanuman was the one who was doing the service. So now we are all come back into the palace. Now I am free, I don't have to do the guarding in this one. So let me do the service to Bhagavan. You be somewhere. So everybody thought you should not feel bad, or others thought no, Hanuman will feel bad that he had been doing the service and then he is deprived. That's why he has come all the way along with Bhagavan to palace. Otherwise, why should he come? All these discussions were there. But what happened when it was told to Hanuman without moment's reluctance, he said, yes, Lakshmana, please do it. He says, I will go and sit outside the room. No problem. Because service is not only being present there. It is the service by mind. My consciousness, my mind is what will always be there at the feet of the Lord. Dasya Bhava. Always whether I am there or not, I am the Dasa of the Ishvara. What's the Hanuman's intelligent reply was that, no, I am Dasa. Wherever I am Dasa only. So it doesn't make any difference, I am there. Lakshman, you do this, I will be sitting outside the door. I will do my Dasyam from there. No problem. See, he was so confident. Why? Why he was so confident? Because he had that zero ego in him, plus his attitude of Dasya Bhava was inherited in him. It cannot be taken out by anyone. By not being there, I don't become not a Dasya. He indirectly explains, hey Lakshman, where has it gone, your brains? Is it necessary that you have to be there by the side, sitting there and doing it? Then only you become the Dasa and satisfaction. What is that? That's only the ego satisfaction is what? Indirectly he is telling Lakshman. Okay, you can take it in that spirit. Without one discussion on that, he just comes out because he is a true Dasa. If it is an ego, he will say, no, I will not go. It is my right. Dasya Bhava, it's very difficult to understand the Dasya Bhava. Dasyam is that Dasa. Who is a true Dasa? Knowing the master's requirement, he acts, is the Dasa. Not that you, hey, so-and-so bring one glass of water, brought a glass of water. He's not Dasa. He's a servant. That's the difference. Now in discipleship, there are 3 disciples. When I told about this long back, if you all remember correct. Same way, I think you know it, so I don't have to repeat it. The same way, in Dasya Bhava also, this, I think 3 differences are there. Dasyam is that one, just following the instructions. Another is that one, in disciples also, what did I say? 3 kinds of disciples. Uttama, Madhyama, Adhama. No? Same way. And also, Uttama, Madhyama, Adhama. So, Uttama Dasyam. What is Uttama? Knowingly. Adi Shankara's disciple, I explained to you. Even recently I said that. Suppose he wakes up in the evening. He puts all reasoning and puts all the probabilities. If this happens, what happened? If this happens, what this happens? So for everything, I should be prepared. So, that is Dasa. Not that following the instructions. That Adama, Shishya can do. That anybody can do. Hey, bring a piece of paper, he can bring it. Bring a pen. That's sincerely being done. There is very sincerely being done. Nothing wrong. But one has to be told. In spirituality, what happened? That's okay. That's in the material level, yes, that's true. One doesn't know what is needed. That's in the material level. But in the spirituality, in the spiritual level and in the Bhakti Bhava, the automatic reflexes will come to you when you are being there. That's what Valmiki, when he is writing about Ramayana. And Lavan Kush, he was teaching also. When he thinks that I need to speak to Sita for a while, she being she having the Dasya Bhava towards the Rishi, she gets her information. She is there already. Said, Bhagavan, do you want to tell me something? That's very high. I mean, to reach that level, it's very high level. That is the true Dasya Bhava, that knowing what is his mind by the time, not that, Rishi has to call somebody, hey, go and call her and bring, not necessary. Yes. Because, why? Why? Because her subconscious as well as the conscious as well as the higher conscious mind is always entangled with the Guru's consciousness. The consciousness of the Guru and consciousness of Sita are the same. Because this happens with the Upasana Shakti, the Nityasana Shakti, it becomes one. So that the intimations are given. We also get intimations, no? All of us get. It's not a special quality for given only to particular people. No, everybody has got that. We all in normal life we have that intuition, we call it. We call them intuition. Oh, see, my presence was, I think, necessary. You go there, actually your presence was necessary there. This intuition comes to you. Why? Because you are connected, somehow or other connected. And it is connected with your mother, with your family, with your this, with your work, with your something. Something is connected with that. So normally you are connected with that, so you get it same way. So it is not an extraordinary capacity or capability given to some people. No. It has got in everyone. But only thing, they have developed it in a highest consciousness where he elaborates the whole thing. That means connection with the absolute consciousness who is the Guru, who is a Jnani, who is a Dhyanam. With that he is linked. So automatically whatever happens there, one gets that information is why this particular. Otherwise everyone has got that power of intuition. No, there's no doubt about it. Everyone has got, even animals have got power of intuition. Yes, everything has got. So Dasyam is that cultivating the feeling of the being service to the Lord, servant to the Lord, or service to your service. Why do you do the service? That's also you should understand. As I told you, the Lord or the great Maharishi doesn't require anybody's. If a tapasvi, a Maharishi or a great Guru, if he can attain through tapasya the highest consciousness, does he require anybody's assistance for doing certain things? We can very well understand. Then why this Dasya Bhava, for whose benefit? It's the benefit of the disciple who is going there. Why? By doing the Dasya, he derives the benefit of the absolute egolessness, plus also connecting, constantly in touch with the highest consciousness. Being in touch with the fire, you get warmth. Being in touch with the ice, you get cold. Being in touch with something else, you get that. Same way, when you being constantly in touch with the highest consciousness, you become that highest consciousness. Simple principle, nothing very special to understand out there. Is why Dasyata is necessary, not for the requirement of no. Maharishi Bhagavan Ram went with him. Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra. His name is what? What's the meaning? The Mitra of Vishwa. That's it. That's why his name is Vishwamitra. Mitram of the Vishwa is Vishwamitra. His name itself is Vishwamitra. Bhagavan Ram's service was requested. Do you think that Maharishi, the whole universe is, in his control? If necessary, he can do anything. That's why he has been named. His name, not he has named himself, no. The others called him Vishwamitra. The others called him Vishwamitra. Not that he one day said that, oh, I am so and so Vishwamitra. self-named. He being Vishwamitra, he wanted the assistance of the young boys, Ram and Lakshman. Do you think was it necessary for him? No. So many incidents had to happen only when it is there. And the service when it is, and all the while the Ram and Lakshman were doing the service to Maharshi. Do you think Maharshi, all these years was there somebody's service for the Maharshi? When he did tapasya, when he did attain the enlightenment, till the time he came to Ram, who was doing service to him? Whose necessity was that? It was there. So why I am saying all these things? To give you incidents in our Purana also, what is there mentioning is not wrong. Why they have told all these things? To make us understand that such great people, very powerful people, why they wanted their service? That question can be asked. If Vishwamitra is so big, why can't he kill those asuras? He can easily do it. Dasya Bhava, cultivating that Dasya Bhava. This can come only with absolute bhakti, where there is no ego. The Dhyanam has to be there. The Dhyanam is that I have to connect with the highest consciousness at all times. Then only that Bhava, Dasya Bhava will come. Dasya Bhava is that humbleness in it. Becomes. That humbleness has to come. Then only we become the Dasa. Dasa is what? Equivalent to sannyasi actually. The Dasa of Bhagavan is equivalent to a sannyasi, saint. Because he has nothing else in his mind. A saint is always connected with the highest consciousness. A Dasa is always connected with the Bhagavan. Nothing else in his mind, nothing, only that. Both are same. Dasya samsyati. Dasya bhavam is the seventh. 8th bhava, 9 bhavas are there, Navarasam. Sakhya bhava, Sakhyam, Sakhi, Sakha bhava we called it, Sakhyam in Sanskrit, Sakhyam. Sakhyam is the word is used for an understanding between two, Sakhyam. A contract signing is known as Sakhyam. Signing a contract is Sakhyam. The word for Sanskrit is Sakhyam. That means taking one into the other into confidence. Absolute Sakhyam. Sakha bhava. Sakha is such that he, whatever he thinks and the Sakha thinks should be same. Then only one can be good friends. A thief and a priest can never be good friend. It's not possible, no? What is that? Mansingh and Valmiki cannot be good friends. I'm just telling some names so that nobody will claim for that. They are no more. Nobody is anywhere. They cannot be good friends. Why? Because in Bhakti Bhava, he is working at a highest consciousness and the other man is working at a very low level. You see, Sakha has to be होते हैं ना बराबर के होना चाहिए. That means thinking. The wavelength of thinking should be same. Then only they can be friends. Otherwise, they will fight each other at war. If it is for some benefit, they are not Sakha actually. That's why Bhagavan Krishna and the gopis are called Sakhis. They are known as Sakhis. Sakhi. It's a Sakha bhav. There is no difference for a Sakhi, for a Gopastri. Doesn't have a difference in her mind. Absolutely, Bhagavan is everything. Wow. That means equal status of that. That's called Sakhya Bhava. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna and Krishna. Krishna maintained the Sakha Bhava with Arjuna. Hey Sakha. Many times it has been told, Hey Sakha also. That's Sakha Bhava, Sakhyam, friendship. For that also, lot of ego should not be there. No, too much of expectation should not be there from the other. Then the Sakha Bhava will not be there. It's only for the benefit that we are. Today is very difficult to find. Sakha Bhava means that you cannot expect too much from them. If you expect too much, he cannot deliver it. It's not possible. Then what happened? That Sakha contract is not there. Understanding is not. That's what is contract. Contract is between two people, and understanding. MIU. Today people have told no many same words are there from long back. You is there. Understanding. What is an understanding? This is exactly what is to be done. Whatever happens, this is the understanding. We follow. You also follow this. I also follow this. That minutes of the understanding. That understanding should be there. Understanding means that there cannot be deviated. Not by force, by acceptance. These two things are there. In contractual obligations, what happened? It is by force it is done. Because there is no other way. In Sakha Bhava, it is not like that. Krishna did not mind becoming a driver, charioteer for Arjuna. Bhagwan. In Sakha Bhava, not one is small or one is big. Both are same. If necessary, he will serve the Sakha. If necessary, the other Sakha will serve him. Bhagwan did not feel bad to be the charioteer of and Arjuna standing there and he riding the chariot. Many times whenever necessary he came. There were so many times, you all know that, so many insults were there, but still many things happened, but still he maintained that Sakha Bhava, and that the Sakha Bhava Arjuna could maintain. But whereas with the Yudhishthira and others, it was a bhakti towards Ishwar, Bhagavan. Hey Vasudeva, you are everything, you know everything, you please tell us. No, that was a bhakti bhava in him. It was a respect towards him. But with Arjuna, it was a Sakha Bhava. Bhagavan and me are good friends. Who can think? Who can behave like that? You should behave like that, no problem. That's Sakha Bhava. How can you become Sakha? Equal to Bhagavan, Ishvara. I and Bhagavan is the same. Ishvara, he is my friend. Anytime I can go to him, anytime I can call him, I can entertain him, I will go and sit with him. Even if he's sleeping, I will go and wake him up. Sakha Bhava. He will not mind because Sakha. There is no difference in him, that's Sakha Bhava. But when can it come? You have to be like Bhagavan, then only it can come. Bhagavan cannot come down to your level. No, it's not possible. Then there will be a big problem. It's not possible, no? That's not possible. We have to become like that. Cultivation of feeling of that friendship. That's Sakha Bhava. Through bhakti, we have to cultivate that habit of being this. That's a very difficult bhava. That's very rare. It has happened, but yes, it is there. In bhakti, Sakha Bhava is also there. One can abuse Bhagavan in that Sakha Bhava, Friends आपस में बोलते हैं, but they don't take it inside. जाओ पागल. गुस्सा था वो, पता नहीं उसको क्या हो गया था आज. ठीक है. Next day अरे क्या हुआ था, अरे भाई ऐसे हो गया. Sakha, finished, no problem. There's no misunderstanding on that. What is that? Because an understanding, I told you MOU is signed, both of them already have signed. An understanding has been signed by both of them in the highest conscious level. How can there be misunderstanding? Who will have misunderstanding? The egoistic people. What I have done, you don't like it. I think you don't know what you've done. I did not know. Why did you turn your back to me and drink the water? Can you not turn yourself towards me and drink? Oh, Sakha. Sakyam, cultivation of being this. Why the Sakha? Being the servant of the God. Even Hanuman had a Sakha bhava. Hanuman had a Sakha bhava. But he was a Dasya. Dasa had a Sakha bhava. He commanded certain things to him. No, don't do it. Sakyam. Then ninth one, Navamam, is that Atma Nivedanam. Atma Nivedanam. Complete surrender. From the Nivedanam only, the word Naivedyam has come. Nivedanam. Nivedanam is, I think in Hindi they call it as an application, no? Request, submitting a request, Nivedanam. In our, this one also it is Nivedanam. Nivedanam submit kiya hai. That means a request has been submitted, Nivedanam. What is Naivedyam? Naivedyam is that Nivedanam from that means Atma Nivedanam, complete surrender of the self. Whom did you submit? Atma. Atma Nivedanam is the ninth, the highest level of Bhakti. Atma Nivedanam. It comes to ultimately, what is it? Absolute surrender. That's all. Who can do absolute surrender? Only person who knows surrender means layam. Surrender is not submission. So this is a misunderstanding. Submission in the sense I am becoming small. There's a tinge of inferiority colored there, is it not? When I say submission, submitting, one is big and one is small. Small is submitting to the big. Submission is not that. Or Atma Nivedanam. Nivedanam is not like that. Nivedanam is here, Atma Nivedanam, absolutely layam. For that, absolute Dhyanam is necessary, egolessness is necessary, Dhyanam is necessary, absolute Bhakti Bhava is necessary. This is the equivalent to Asamprajnata. You remember yesterday or day before I told you, Samprajnat Samadhi, Asamprajnat Samadhi. This is the Asamprajnat Samadhi, when absolute seedless state in which there is complete acceptance and surrender and no duality. It's known as seedless state. आजकल वो seedless orange. Yeah, it's true. Seedless. Some fruit has come seedless. This one seedless. That one seedless. Why? And okay. From that seedless one, I cannot produce another orange. It's not possible because there is no seed in it. Alright? Only the seed has to be again planted, then only another tree can come, another plant can come. Same way, it has to be a seedless state. That another me should not be born from there again. Another me should not be born from there. A seedless state. That's called Atma Nivedana. That's why it is known as seedless state. If I am submitting, I will be again getting up. So I am being born again. Or if I am submitting only for the purpose, I will take a rebirth and I will come again. I will again come again. If it is a desire bound, surrender. If it is a requirement, surrender. If it is an expectation, surrender. Then what happens? That's also surrender. But then he is born again. That is seed. It's not seedless. Here he wants Atma Nivedanam. In Atma Nivedanam, an absolute surrender, when it takes place, it has to be a seedless state, he said. From that seed, no more you can be created. No more of you can be created. Is why the seedless state in which a complete acceptance and surrender, naturally. When acceptance is there, then only surrender can take place. Otherwise, you cannot have surrender. The high, that that principle of acceptance has to be identified. The acceptance itself is surrender, actually. The acceptance, you are Bhagwan, itself is surrender. Am I right? There need not be any classification of surrender again, but it has been put two words. Why? Because to make the common man understand. Otherwise, the surrender is inherent in acceptance. When I surrender, then only I will have acceptance. Otherwise, I will never accept. Is it not? Will I accept what you say if I don't have total surrender to it? No. I have to be in the surrender, then only acceptance will be there. It goes without saying. Yes. So, but again, acceptance and total surrender, no duality should be there. Dvaita Siddhantam, I and you should not be there. That's called Atma Nivedanam. This is the ninth state. This is exactly in the Dhyanam maargam also. This is ultimate. This is why I said, anywhere you take down the ninth state, 9 states, ninth cloud we say, 7 layers, then the 2 layers, again above that is the 9th layer. Turiya Avastha, after Turiya Avastha, another 2 layers. So, the ninth level is that absolute layer. Whether it is in Jnana Marga, it is absolute layer, Bhakti Marga, absolute layer, Raja Yoga, absolute layer, Karma Yoga, absolute layer. Everyone has to come into that, but the practices may be different. That's okay. That depends upon your capacity. You can adopt this. Which man today in this world does Bhakti Yoga like this? You're all telling now about Bhakti. People talk about Bhakti, very simple, easy way of Bhakti. No Guru is necessary for this. No Guru is necessary in Bhakti Marga. You can do it yourself. But you have to do it like this. This is Bhakti Marga. Is why I decided to explain this to you, so that that Bhakti Marga is not simply folding the hands and standing there and pouring some water on the Shivaling. Will not conclude Bhakti Marga there. It's an activity. Yes, it is necessary. Is it wrong? No, it is not wrong. It's not wrong. You derive some consciousness out of it. You have to derive consciousness out of it. You have to derive knowledge out of it. It's okay. It's good. Nothing is wrong, as I told you. Never it is wrong. Because they are all been designed by great people. How can it be wrong? It can never be wrong. But once you come to this level of Atma Nivedanam, is there any importance to you putting 2 flowers in front of one photograph? Has got any significance? Much above you are. Is Atma Nivedanam is the final. That's called the true Bhakti. In Jnana Marga also same, Bhakti Marga is same, every marga is same. So, Atma Nivedanam, these are the 9 forms of devotion to devote in sequence. These are the kind of devotion. First of all, we have to reach the other states. Anyway, you have already noted. Practice of the lower stages, such as listening to stories, is relatively easy. It keeps the mind centered on the Almighty, creating positive thought, waves receptive mind. We tell some people are there who are not educated, who don't think much of complications are not there. People who are learned here a little bit here and there, it's a big problem to deal with them. Old days, people did not know. Somebody read Bhagavatam, said that Bhagavan appeared. He totally believed Bhagavan appeared. In literal meaning, he believed it. Absolutely correct. He has no inhibitions. He has no resistance onto that. No. And he said, Bhagavan has appeared. Finished. Now what happened? He has a total faith on that. And he sees only Bhagavan at that time. What happened? An Atma Nivedanam takes place automatically. We are all born. I told this from day one, from 1988 onwards. I am talking this. If I remember correctly. Or earlier, I don't know, 88. At least 88. Be simple to be simple, I said. Simplicity in which we are all born in that absolute simplicity only, innocence. In that innocence only, we are all born. You have built up all your senses on the in-know sense. In that in-know sense only, you have built up all the senses. Now you are trying to wind it up, I know. That inner sense has to be there. That's why Bhagavan Shiv has been addressed sometimes as Bhola, absolute innocent. It's not that he's unaware of things like that, because the innocence is that, and a complete consciousness, knowledge. That is. We have complicated our system, our thoughts. Now it is difficult from that complication to come out of it. Bhagavan says here, it keeps the mind centered on the Almighty, creating. That's how this prompted me to tell you about that. That Bhagavan appeared and all that. It's okay. Nice. Waves and receptive mind. Even those who are intellectually oriented derive benefit from the stories and chanting if they will open their hearts as well as their minds. Yes. I would like to discuss a little bit on this, because it's very interesting. I read Upanishad, we understand, we read stories. Now we are reading this. As I told you, for an innocent person who has not complicated his mind, when a guru has told that Bhagavan really appeared and did the blessing, gave the blessing, he totally believed it. A highly intellectual person who is a jnani, who is an absolute jnani, he listened to the story, the same sentence. Bhagavan appeared and did the blessing. Now the jnani has derived that. Whenever the bhakt has become into an absolute surrender, the highest consciousness revealed in him, and he felt the blessing of the Lord in him. This is how he will interpret, but the words are saying. That man will interpret Bhagavan as physically appeared. Here, the jnani, the intellectual jnani, will say that because of my I reached the level of my consciousness to the highest level of that. The appearance of the highest, the acceptance of the highest consciousness has been there, and that is called the blessing. So automatically, the presence of the Lord is being felt by him, so that he is no more there. That's how the presence of the Lord could be felt. One is doing physical feeling of that. Their feeling means physical feeling. Oh, Bhagavan came in front of me. It's a physical feeling. The intellect, who is the jnani, he said, where is the feeling in him? The feeling is in the, I told you, one is at the lower conscious level, another is at the higher conscious level. In higher conscious level, when we call it a feeling, the feeling is not through the sensory system, it is through the conscious state. Like we call it as Kundalini when it is at the lower stage, at the bottom of the beginning of the spine, at the bottom of the spine. We call it as, the energy is called as Kundalini. The moment the Kundalini is awakened and then merges with the Sahasrara and the static energy, the dynamic energy merges with the static energy, when it becomes the highest consciousness. The same Kundalini energy which is involved in activities, these activities are converted into the highest consciousness. So for an intellect, the same word the Bhagavan came and blessed will be merging with the highest consciousness, and he reveals that consciousness can be benefited, is what he says, that hearts as well as, if he keeps that consciousness, he will identify it as like that. He will not rule it out. He will identify it as like that, is what he says. When the devotee has been prepared by the earlier stages of worship, he can attempt the more difficult higher stages. According to him, these are the simplified stages. What these are 9 are the simple stages which you have to reach first. Then the higher ones comes. What are the higher? There are 5, 6 higher stages are there. 5 generally, 6 is very difficult. So there are, in any case, the bhava or devotional feeling of the devotee of the extreme importance, accommodating the various temperaments of the people. There are 5 different ways of relating to God. Temperament of the people, first of all. It's a big subject, temperament. Swabhava. But I don't think there is any place for discussion of this particular word here when we have already discussed up to the 9 level of the devotional state. Right. Where is the question of the temperaments? Temperaments are tatkalik, depends upon the waves of acceptance of thoughts by the mind, superimposing on the mind, and then acting, because mind is powerful, mind is acting according to those superimpositions, depending upon those thoughts and desires, temporarily for some time, is called the temperament. Temperament. The state of temporary is temperament. The state of temporary. For a bhakt or for a jnani, the state of temporariness should not be there at all, absolutely. It has to be firm, nitya bhava. Anityam is temporary. Should not be there, but still, but Swamiji has warned. He's not wrong by saying that. He has warned once again that even though you are attaining this, the bhakti bhava, with these 9 divisions, 9 forms we have already described, but actually going through these 9 forms itself, one will come out of this temperament actually. Otherwise, what will happen? Whenever you have a desire, whenever you have a superimposition of the thought on the mind, and the mind acts upon the superimposition done by you for a temporary purpose or a cause, and achieving or fulfilling the requirement or desire by acting according to that will be only temporary, because the satisfaction out of that achievement is only temporary. So during that process, automatically what happens? Your stability of bhakti derails and will not be in a position to again put back immediately. It's not possible. So that temporary bhava, that should not be there. The temperament should be such that it has to be in the permanent status in any way. But still, being human beings, the mind will get slightly this way, that way. That allowance has been given. So in that such case, there are not too much of fluctuation. There can be always a needle just vibrates between 1 to 2 points this way, that way. It can always happen, because after all, one is living in this material world, so this can happen like that. Not too much going into 0 and then to 80, it is not possible. That's not what he's talking about. So he says that So the devotional, accommodating the various temperament of the people, there are 5 different ways of relating to the God. Relating to the God means relating to the highest consciousness, which are the power that you will have to adopt. Here activities, it's not adopting a bhava actually. Bhava itself is that which should happen. No, it's not that you are creating, inculcating into it. It's that bhava imbibing by something. No, it's a bhava which should automatically happen in it. That's why it's known as bhava. Bhava means that bhavati means happens. No, bhavati means what happens. Bhava means that which has happened, not created. Bhava cannot be created. Bhakti bhava, can you create that bhava? No. It has to come in you, How can we create? It's not possible. That bhava has to be there. Same way that bhava has to be there, the feeling has to be there. What is the bhava? One is that he says that these are the higher ones. One is in the Shanta bhava. This pure feeling of peace is devoid of desire, ignorance and emotions, is called Shanta bhava. Shanta bhava means not that sitting, sleeping or sitting quiet. Oh, Shanta bhava, better to sleep. Anyway, in that absolute Shanta bhava will be the deep sleep, aram se. If necessary, take one tablet also. Give you a tablet. Bhagavan says here, the Maharishi says here, what is Shanta Bhava? Shanta Bhava is that, please understand, this pure feeling, absolute pure feeling of peace, Shanta. When there is no disturbance at all. Nothing disturbs you. It's called Shanta Bhava. Nothing disturbs you. It's devoid of, that's why he classifies it, he qualifies it. What is that? It's devoid of desire. That's the one which is disturbing us. Ignorance is another one. And emotion, 3 major asuras disturbing the tapasya. These 3 asuras, desire, ignorance and emotion are 3 asuras who disturbs this one. Its presence is not externally apparent. This is the devotional attitude of the Jnana Yogi. Shanta Bhavam is a devotional attitude of the Jnana Yogi. In a Jnani, at all times, the Shanta Bhavam is there. You may see him externally something else. That's why it is difficult to identify a great tapasvi, great jnani, great maharshi, Brahma Sakshatkari. I always tell that for normal eyes, it's very difficult to understand. They will always see him as another human being. That's all. Because all activities are same. But inside him is the absolute stillness of peace and prakasham, and the light is there. Like what? Like in an ocean which is deep, in an ocean which has got a depth, the superficial few millimeters or centimeters are disturbed because of the wind, because of the stone thrown to it, or animals on that, and plants which is grown on top of it. No, it doesn't know. Because of all this, the surface few, how much? So much. Few centimeters will look always disturbed. But on, where is this standing? On the substratum of, when you go down, absolute peace. The depth of the ocean, at the depth of the ocean they say, The ocean on top you see highly disturbed, but at the depth of the ocean, in order to form a pearl in that shell, there has to be absolute silence. Do you know that? You must have learned about it. The history of making pearls. There has to be absolute silence, no disturbance at all. Then only it can create pearls. Even minute disturbance will not be able to create pearls. They will be at the bottommost portion of the ocean where the absolute peace is there. From there, what is the result coming out? Pearls. From what? From the shells. Same way in Jnani, externally he appears to be anything normal as disturbed, things like that. But the inner peace, everything functions at the substratum. Everything functions at the substratum of it. All the things what is happening. It's a Jnana yogi, it's a Shanta Bhava. He is approaching the Lord through Shanta Bhava because there are no disturbances at all. When in the Shanta Bhava, what happens? He attains the absolute peace. He has attained. When he has attained the absolute peace where there is no desires, no attachment, no, these asuras are not ignorance, emotion and desire are no more there. Automatically what happens? He merges himself with the highest consciousness. In the highest consciousness, there are none of them, no forms and shapes of these are there. It's absolute Dhyanam, absolute knowledge, which doesn't have any shape and form or identity is there. That's how this is known as, that is called the Shanta Bhava. We are simply asking for peace. I don't have peace. Can you get me peace? Make me peaceful. Can make you peace, but not peaceful. Make you into pieces. Maharshi says the next bhava. So you understood what Shanta Bhava. Shanta Bhava is that to go into that stillness where the flame should not be moving. It should be steady and still, absolute still. The Jnani is just like a flame without any breeze, still and burning, and giving constant light at the same length, same width, same prakasha without any disturbance is called a true Jnani, Brahma Jnani. Second, Swamiji advises the second bhava, external and devotional feeling, bhava, is here, dasya bhava. They explain dasya bhava in the lower consciousness, where activities are required. The devotee regards himself as a servant of the God, it's a repetition, whom he sees in everything but himself. He sees himself as inferior to the rest of the humanity. Humbly placing himself in the God's hands, he takes delight in the service to all. I told you about Hanuman. That is the highest form of Dasya Bhava, where he doesn't require an activity to make him feel he is a Dasa. He said, I will sit outside the door. Lord is inside me. I am smaller than him. I will serve him by sitting here. I will keep awake. The story also says that in Ramayana, when Hanuman said this, he sat at the door for 13 days or 14 days without sleeping. He was not allowed to go in because of the service by others. All have to get their opportunity to serve him. 13 to 14 days he sat there patiently meditating on it without sleeping, without eating, without sleeping, absolutely still not agitated, absolutely still and ignorant. This Dasya Bhava of the higher consciousness. The other is what Lakshman did. He wanted to have a Dasya Bhava at lower conscious level, that he wanted to go press his feet, do service to him, put him to sleep, bring food for him, or X, Y, Z. Okay, I'm just telling examples, that's all. Lower consciousness. He is not deprived, Hanuman is not deprived of that, because he feels Dasya Bhava is this, that. His activity, he doesn't want to show Bhagwan that I am your Dasa. No. Others wanted to show. He, by sitting there, he thought. And Valmiki writes, all the time when Bhagwan was taking service from others, his eyes and attention was seeing Hanuman doing that seva to him. This is the connection. Because that is the seva, the purity in Hanuman's seva to Bhagwan. He doesn't want to show. He said he was hiding. So I will not be there. Bhagwan throughout, even though the seva is being received from others, everything is happening. He is eating, he is sleeping, he is everything. But constantly, Bhagwan's attention was on Hanuman. And at last, after everything is over, Bhagwan says that, I can never repay Hanuman's seva. This is what has happened. He told that afterwards. Is what Valmiki writes in Valmiki Ramayana. If you go through it, you will find these inscriptions. There are so many Ramayanas, no? So as far as Valmiki Ramayana, which I have got here, it is there in Valmiki Ramayana. It's giving that impression of the seva bhava at the, why did I say that? Dasya bhava at the higher conscious level. There, he is always dasa. At all times, whether he is present, not present, sitting or sleeping or eating, not sleeping, also he is a dasa to him. How can there be difference? Bhagavan cannot go without showing his attention to me. It is not possible. That is the Dasya Bhava, an authority of dasa on the masters. An authority, he owns that authority. He is Hanuman. Read Hanuman's character. Next is Sakya Bhava, God, regarded as spiritual friend to whom one can turn for advice, comfort, companionship. In the lower conscious level, as I told you, you can relate with him straight, directly, as Arjuna dealt with him, straightforward. Hey Vasudeva, tell me now what to do, how to go about it. Things like that. One becomes unable to live without his company, is the highest conscious level. The other one is lower consciousness. Sakha Bhava is in the lower consciousness. In the higher consciousness, as Hanuman did. Same thing there also. You can translate that one here also. Sakha Bhava, Dasya Bhava. When you go in the gist of it, it's all the same. One cannot live without his company. Arjuna's relationship with Krishna, as set forth in the Bhagavad Gita, is of this nature. One cannot live without him. May not be present, but again, like Hanuman said, always be in the company of Bhagavad Vasudeva. It's a Sakha Bhava. As I told you about the Dasya Bhava, same thing in the case of Sakha. That's all. The only thing, here it is a master, here it is a Sakha. In both cases, it's at the highest conscious level. It is the higher consciousness. That's all. Fourth is a Vatsalya Bhava. Vatsalya Bhava is the relationship to the child. Many people are doing it, and I always say this. Bhagavan Krishna is, Laddu Gopal, holding one laddu. Mahatrutva towards Bhagavan. Mahatrutva. Devaki, Bhagavan Krishna's mother. In the previous Janma, because of that, it's a big story. 7 Janmas were taken and things like that. 7 death has taken place. And at that time, when Bhagavan was appeared to her, and she asked for a vara, that in the next Janma, hey Bhagavan, you see, that's what he said, Mahatrutva Bhava. Bhakti is in that way. That I would like you to be mine. You should be born to me, from me. You as a child. That's what I would like to feel, that Mahatrutva to the Bhagavan. That's be another bhakti. Not their superiority, not affection, not bhakti, or you can call it as a bhakti, but through taking care of that small child of her own, she would like to show the bhakti through Valsalyam. In Valsalyam, there is a lot of dedication and devotion is there. When you take, I think the women know better than the men who took care of the child, a small infant when it is crying. How disturbed one mother gets. Why is it crying? How to stop this one crying? Necessity of crying is also necessary. But one doesn't understand. One always tries to stop the crying. Whether it is feeling hungry or not, the mother feels, oh, this is the time that it will be fed. Even midnight, suddenly the mother wakes up and feeds the baby. Vatsalya Bhava. That means a total devotion and dedication on that. Without looking after the self. Well, today's conditions are different. Don't take this. Today, motherhood has got a different meaning. Children are not the same. Not taken care in the same way as in the bhava, as Devaki has done. Today, someone else take care of the child. No? Today, the childish care people take a child. They take care of the child. It's called childish care centers. Okay, anyway, I am not criticizing. Maybe that's the way today's life is. Well, when I told about Vatsalya Bhava, this came. No, so don't compare with that. Vatsalyam is that there was a time when the mother did not look at her comforts, discomforts, her problems, her difficulties, her looks. Nothing she bothered. She only bothered about the baby. How to make the child comfortable. How to make the baby comfortable. How to make him. That bhakti, that's also a bhava of devotion and dedication. So Devaki said, I would like you to be born as my child in the next Janma. She forgot. Bhagavan is, that's why you should be always careful when you are asking something to Bhagavan. He granted the boon, tathastu. He was born to her. She could not take care of him. She didn't say that. She only said that you have to be fine, no problem. What is it? I will be born. Without she being conscious, before she became conscious, he has left from there. You see, well, that's a different thing. Valsalyam is that, towards showing that to the Bhagavad. That bhagya was given to somebody else. It is exemplified by the Yashoda's relationship with baby. It was given to Yashoda. Devaki, even though was born, Yashoda was the luckiest to take care of him. in each and every. You know the story now, the big story of how dedicated she was to him, and departing that child, how she broke down when Krishna left the small age. He has left to Mathura. Well, okay, we don't go through the story. So again, well, these are necessary to identify. That's called the Vatsalya Bhavam towards Bhagavan. That also can be done. Many people do it. Many people like it and many people do it. And honestly they do it. Fine, that's good. Excellent. No problem. Vatsalya Bhavam. Fifth is the Madhurya Bhavam. Madhurada, like a lover. Feeling of a lover towards beloved. It's pure love, untinged by lust, not with lust. That's why the gopis' love towards Krishna. It was without lust, it's only bhakti bhava, and is difficult to develop. Encompassing a pure desire to touch, embrace his physical and astral form, this method is encountered frequently in poetry and writings of Sufi. In yoga, it is symbolized by union of Shiva and Shakti. In the Sahasra, at the crown of the head, this is the highest type of devotional feeling, you see. Form of love, absolute love, the pure love, without lust in it. Is another bhava, is called the Madhurya Bhava. There is no more bhava which remains outside the pale of normal relationship. Is not deliberately cultivated, as I told you. Is not deliberately cultivated. It's come as a path to the God, nor it is easy to maintain. It's very difficult. Even though somebody cultivates it, it's difficult to maintain. In 1 day, 2 days, one gets fed up of it. Then it remains to the rituals. Stitching close to the small Krishna, looking for clothes, looking for ornaments, looking for diamonds, looking for remains in satisfaction, remains in their own these activities. Not in the bhavana is not the activity. They would like to show it, but here it has to be there. That's so. The Swamiji says here, it's not easy to maintain. This is the feeling of. Now, another thing is that one which is deliberately made, not deliberately made, and not easy to maintain. Another one is that, which is another bhakti bhava is what strange. No? It's not strange. We know it. It's called the extreme hatred towards God. It's a bhakti bhava. Extreme hatred towards God, like we know it already, Kamsa and Ravana. Always fear of Bhagavan. In sleep also, Kamsa gets up. Krishna is standing there. He is coming to kill me. Go and find out who are born in such and such day of birth. And within, sometimes there can be a mistake in calculation, even though they say, doctors say that on 13th November, child will be born. Sometimes it takes another 7 days. Sometimes premature. So he has calculated, Kamsa calculated. Within 1 month, no calculations. That does not take chance. 1 month before and 1 month after whoever is born, kill all of them. Yes. Kill all of them. Hatred. You see, look at the hatred. Why? Because Krishna is born. Krishna. And after that, who can it be? In his dream, in his sleep, in his Akashvani, in his ears echoing, and in his dream, in his sleep, in his walking state, in his waking state, in his talking, for every subject, everything, everywhere, all his activities concentrated only on Bhagavan. Naturally, Bhagavan says, Arey, aisa bhakt to kabhi dekha hi nahi. Always thinking of me. Shatru Bhava is known as Shatru Bhava, hatred. It's called, like Madhuryam, it is Shatruda. Shatru Bhava, when one is constantly remembering of him, even in hatred, the mind becomes one pointed. That's why I used to tell you, do you remember? I don't know whether you remember or not. Even an astika is an astika. Na astitva has come from astitva. Astika is also an astika. I used to tell this in my Reiki classes, I used to tell this. So Swamiji says here, when one is constant remembrance of him, even with hatred, mind becomes one-pointed and fixed. Through this concentration, one is redeemed, for evil always falls before goodness. So various people have done this according to classical tradition. The human being experiences 14 different states of consciousness. Now in this status, whenever one goes into Bhakti Bhava, there is a change in our conscious level. There is change in the conscious level. These levels have been calculated by or identified by the Tapasvis, Jnanis, 14 stages. What are these stages? We will explain it later, maybe next class, because let me just read it first. 14 different stages of consciousness. One is the physical consciousness, physical, then astral, then dream, supra-cosmic, then dual, multiple, Virat or the cosmos, the divine and absolute. These are the different consciousness one can feel in the Bhava, Bhakti Bhava or in any Bhava. So these classifications we will read later. We will explain if necessary. The practice of Bhakti Yoga can lead the aspirant through any or all of them. The devotee is particularly subject to visions, lights in the forehead and other manifestations of psychic phenomena. These experiences can be frightening, particularly the loss of physical consciousness, which may feel like dying. However, the aspirant must not be faint-hearted, nor should he cling to these experiences. He should not cling to these experiences, which will appear and reappear for brief periods in the beginning and series of spiritual progress. With persistent, regular practice, one goes beyond this phenomena to meditation and peace and bliss. One must struggle to reach the meditation and struggle even harder to reach the samadhi, the superconscious state. But not doing it very emphatically, strongly, and feeling that, I must get, today I must reach the here. I cannot function like that. It has to go in different stages. And those stages have to be, even though he says it has to be worked, one has to work for it. Work for it in the sense what Swamiji means is that one has to understand these things, because it is a bhava and it's a transition that is taking place in our system. This cannot be constant. Today you will find an experience, tomorrow when you grow it will be a different experience. But some experiences are beautiful, we would like to get stuck to it. That means there is no growth. If you are getting stuck to it, there is no growth. In growth what happens? Different experiences will take place. That is why he has explained these things. One is known as the physical experience. In physical experience, initially what happens? Aches and pains are there in the meditation. Then distraction is there, and then discomfort is there. sitting in the posture and things like that. Also, when you are going into the deeper meditation, you also feel, as he rightly said here, you also feel suddenly the body is disappearing. Some people get scared of it. Actually, really, am I disappearing? No, you will become, conscious of it and come back. That's not good. So he says that. So for all these things, that is why I always said that these experiences will take a person into scare. Something is happening to me, which is not normal. Suddenly they will think that. Many people also say that, so many things are happening, which is not normal. Some people start behaving different, stuck to it. So many things happen physically. One should not get scared of it. He says, now, how can one not get scared of it? This is all I am talking about the normal experiences, but there can be very scary experiences during the process. Suddenly the body explodes. That's why I used to make you practice this renouncing the body, burning and things like that from the beginning. You see, so that I was making your mind practicing this, so that at a point of time when really it happens, in the consciousness, one will not get scared, because the mind is already used to it. Is why in our meditations, in one or two meditations, we have done that renunciation of the physical body. We have done it, and that's so naturally you know it. So what happens? What I am trying to tell you is that to know all these variants that is happening to us, we should have the Dhyanam or that prayer. Since I have told you that this is how you do it, you experience. I said it's not only telling. I told you experience it. So you experienced it. When you are experiencing, what happens? This memory is in you. So what? Then what happens? Now when you do a free will meditation, when I don't guide you, you have to do a free will meditation, a class that is to be done. When you do that, what happens? These things can happen. When these things happen, when one is physically attracted and attached to the physical sense, there can be various differences in the physical sense. There are people whose hands became like this. Doesn't come straight. Now he should continue. Gradually it eases out. There can be stiffness in the body. Physical problems I am telling. But there can be so many other things. These are all, if you know it before, that you have already done the physical body in our meditation, we did the renunciation. So what happens? The mind is already used to it. It will not get scared or make you do this. No, even if something is happening, it all will be taken care. Is why I made you to do practice, and I told you, practice it for 3 months. 3 months constantly practicing the same, what happens? You'll experience, if you have practiced. Then these disturbances will not take place. Otherwise what happens? A disruption will take place, and again you come to the conscious level, which will be disastrous. Sometimes this pain remains with you. You don't release it at that time. It remains with you for weeks sometimes together, or from days together. But once you know it, what happens? Yes, that's renunciation taking place. Within a fraction of a second, it's all gone. Even if it happens, it's a physical disturbance. So, in physically getting disturbed, physically obtaining it, and then in the astral level, now somebody feels that, okay, certain astral experiences. This we'll describe later in results of experiences. In that chapter, these explanations we will give. Astral experiences are that out of the body experiences. That also one feels it, one should not get attached to it, one should not get scared to it. Both are there. Somebody gets attached to it. Then what happens? Next day it doesn't happen. So you get disappointed of it. And he strives for it. The more you strive, the more you go away from that. And all the effort of the meditation goes vanished. Don't expect, that's why I always tell you, let the system take care of it, let it happen. So many things might happen. Don't insist that, oh, I should see this. Then you're not meditating. Then that you can do anytime. Close your eyes, I must see this, so you will see that. That's all. For that, all the struggle is not necessary. Is that astral experiences, dream, in dream. What happened when we start meditating? We start dreaming of many things. We flying, dropping down, dying. Many things takes place. No? So these are all because in the subconscious mind all these things are impressed. Those impressions are there. Those impressions have to come out in the dream. So do not get upset on that. In order to prepare yourself for all this, we have to have the Dhyanam of this. The knowledge of it. When the knowledge is there, you don't get upset about it. When you don't know about it, then only you get upset about it. That's why we have to know all these things. Supramental, the mental experiences and supramental experiences, superconscious experiences, unconscious state, subconscious state, and duality, multiple, vital, divine, and absolute. All these differences can take place during the process. Religious truth become diluted by and for the masses. So, the essential attitude to be taken in any religious practices is one of taking refuge. Refuge, that's called Sharanartham. That's why we say that ashramam, ashrayam, take refuge. You have to take refuge of confession. You have to take refuge of confession. Refuge of confession. Prayer, ultimate surrender to the higher power. It is this inner state of consciousness that Bhakti Yoga nurtures. What you derive out of Bhakti Yoga, what you are supposed to derive, is that taking refuge of confession, two different words of confession, prayer, confession, Atma Samarpanam, confession. This confession is diluted to confession in some other religion, and they go and talk like that. I have done this, I have done this. Confession should be clear. That means you should be conscious of what you have done and you should rectify that. Then the prayer and ultimate surrender to the highest power, higher power. It is this inner state of consciousness that Bhakti Yoga nurtures. Without its presence, all other paths of yoga and any true spiritual progress will fall short of mark. Absolute surrender, absolute confession, ultimate surrender, higher power, Nididhyasana, Upasana, Samarpana Bhava. So I have been talking same thing, number of days and months and years. Without that, none of the yogas will progress, he says. Not only one yoga. Raja Yoga we will take next time. What is Raja Yoga? We will see that, even though we may not. That is a psychological approach and needs practice, things like that. It's purely on that basis of that. Raja Yoga Sutra, the theory and the practice. He has elaborately made it. It's also based on the physical functions and activities, psychologically toning yourself, because it has got a logic. It relates with a logical background. Here, here it is not. There is no logical background. Here you have to do that. Here in this, you connect it with the logics. Yama niyama asana pranayama pratyahara dharana dhyanam samadhi. You create your purity, you create your niyama, you create your asana, you create this, that kind of it's that kind of rituals and that kind of understanding. Psychological toning up and making the the mind understand logically why we are doing that. These calculations are done in Raja Yoga. Is why practically they do it an open eye meditation, looking at a particular point and bringing these activities in the mind and psychologically trying to understand it and transforming it. Well, some people like it, that process. We'll talk about it. I'm just informing you, that's all, it's okay. Because since we do not know many of these things, I thought it's nice to share with you so that you know what is it actually, whether you follow it or not. That's a different thing. You follow whichever suits you, whatever suits you, that's okay. That should be the right way. But it's better to know, so that we can take always good things from, maybe some benefits out of it, no doubt about it. In certain clarifications, certain doubts will be clarified through different yogas. Like in Bhakti Yoga, many things got clarified from the Jnana Yoga. Ultimately, we derived a consensus that there's no difference. At last, what we have learned? There's no difference. It's only one principle that works. But for some, it is difficult to follow certain paths, others. But whichever path you follow, you have to follow it in the right manner. Like in Bhakti Yoga, presence of Bhagavan means presence of Bhagavan. That should be absolute. Not there. The question of my requirement was, desire and attention and fulfilling my personal problems. Nothing like that. Everything ultimately leads to whatever said and done. Through many words we are talking. Through many words people have written books after books and shastras after shastras. But one truth, you have to surrender. That's all. Your fictitious ego has to be crushed and surrendered to the consciousness, to the jnana. Otherwise, you will be misled. You will have to undergo the process of the cycle of death and birth number of times. This is the truth, capsuled the principle of life. Om Shanti.